100 years ago, a group of music lovers established what would soon come to be known as the Toronto Symphony Orchestra. And for a century, the TSO has been delighting audiences first at Massey Hall and for the last 40 years at Roy Thomson Hall. The orchestra hired a dynamic new music director in 2020, just in time to see his first season canceled because of COVID. Then its chief executive officer unexpectedly left. It's all par for the course in the wild world of classical music. Here to tell us about their plans for the 100th anniversary season and how to get things back on track during a pandemic that still isn't over, we welcome Maestro Gustavo Gimeno and CEO Mark Williams. And it's great to have you two here in our studio.
Nice to be having us.
I want to take you back, Gustavo, 2.5 years. You've got this new job in a new country. You no doubt had big plans for the TSO, and it's almost over before it begins. And I wonder whether at any point in that you asked yourself, what the heck have I gotten myself into here?
Well, I thought, this is really bad luck. You know, I was so much looking forward to have a complete, wonderful first season. I was visualizing already the first concert, the first program. It would be, in the second half of the program, would be the first symphony by Mahler. And I had already all, you know, I was visualizing everything and the emotions, and all of a sudden it was gone. So, well, we all know we were in a strange position all of a sudden, but we are now also happy to be where we are now.
And when you have to sit down and start planning out a program when there are no concerts, people cannot gather, you've got to do everything online, where do you even begin?
Well, and before programming all those concerts of the future, also we had engaged many artists for my first season. So to accept those plans are not going to take place, and to make new plans and what exactly, depending on the new regulations and the authorities, and we wouldn't know how long it would take. So we were actually making plan which didn't happen, and again another plan which didn't happen, etc., etc. So it was reinventing ourselves, sometimes a little depressing, because also as musician, one thing is making plans, which is part of our lives, but in the end, the core of our lives is really sharing the stage, you know, sharing the stage and making music together, and that's what keeps us also together. So it was difficult for a while. So I keep on thinking nowadays how fortunate I feel where we are now. So because it's so recent, of course, all this.
Do you feel in some ways the first 2 years didn't even count?
It counted.
It did?
No, it counted. It didn't count in the music making. It counted in, well, before I started, we had our first crisis together. So we got to know each other very well, and we had many meetings, and we, not only personally, but also as an institution, I think that those difficulties made us also stronger and forces you to grow in a different direction and a different way than what you had envisioned and imagined. So I think we are, I worried a little bit because we didn't have our first season and our first concert, which is a wonderful feeling of coming together after an announcement, etc. So I worried that time would be away and we wouldn't have that moment. Actually, I feel we are having it now because it didn't happen back then, but we are more mature as a collective. So in the end, let's take it as it is, and we'll go from there. That's fine.
And we'll talk more about that as we go along. You are fairly new to your job. You just got this job this year, right?
I am.
From Cleveland.
I started in April, so I've been here about 8 months.
Why did you decide to leave? You had a big job in Cleveland
Yes.
with a world-renowned orchestra, and you left that for here. How come?
You know, one of the things that became very clear to me in the pandemic was that we needed really great leadership in the arts as we would rebuild. And when I got the call and I thought, great orchestra, Toronto Symphony Orchestra, Gustavo Gimeno, a music director and a conductor that I know quite well and have a great deal of respect for, an incredible city, a wonderful country. I mean, it all seemed very obvious to me that this would be the place, if offered, that I would want to be.
Well, you say it's obvious, and okay, I'm going to admit my bias here. Toronto's a better city than Cleveland. We got to admit that.
I would agree.
Okay, but the Cleveland Orchestra is considered, it's considered one of the world's great orchestras, maybe better than the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, right? Did you worry you were taking a step down?
No, absolutely not. And I think that the opportunity in Toronto is so great. I mean, the quality of the music making here, what Gustavo and the orchestra are doing together, I'm continually amazed by. And I'm really excited about telling that story in our community and making sure that more people in our community know the gem that we have here. You know, Gustavo was just saying that in a way it feels like the beginning is now. So I started in April, shortly after we could have the full orchestra back together without distance and a full audience.
And the full orchestra is how many?
It's 90 people.
90.
So 90 people, one conductor, a full audience. And that was sort of my first week here, really. So it felt in a way like we were all starting after the pandemic together. And I heard that orchestra, I'll never forget, it was Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony. And I started to fall in love. And I knew, I'm in the right place. These are my people, these are my musicians, this is my city.
You used to play. Do you still play?
You know, play is a very general term. I studied French horn, so I did play the horn, and actually I'm playing at the office holiday party on Fridays.
Okay, that's not quite what I had in mind, but somewhere along the way, I guess you made the decision that your future was not going to be as a musician, as a player, but rather in management and administration. Why'd you make that call?
I have a firm belief that if you have decided that your life will be on the stage, you have to believe that it's truly the only thing you can do. Not that it's the only skill that you have. You know, our musicians, Gustavo, these are incredibly well-educated, curious people. But there's something inside of you that says, I must be a musician. I must be a horn player. I must be a painter. I never had that. I love the art form. I love, I couldn't imagine my life without it. But it became clear to me that my role was to support it, not to do it. And I think that, I'd like to think that the world is better for that.
I normally never ask people questions about their private lives, but you have been very open about the fact that you are the first Black CEO in the history of the Toronto Symphony and the first openly gay CEO of the Toronto Symphony Orchestra. And I guess I want to know, is that important to you, to be that pioneer?
Well, no one sets out to be a pioneer, right? I mean, we set out to live our lives to find happiness, to find fulfillment, and ultimately to contribute. And so I'm very pleased that I can contribute to the artistic life, the musical life in our city in this way. And I hope that I can't hide my race, but I suppose I could hide my sexuality. But I hope that being open about these things and speaking about them, maybe that will inspire someone else to see that, well, you know, they could run a symphony orchestra or an arts organization or a corporation or whatnot. So, you know, in that way, I suppose one simultaneously a symbol, but we're also just, you know, we're just the people that we are.
Gotcha. Gustavo, take us back. For those people who haven't had a chance to get to know you yet, we should say you're originally from Spain.
Right.
Amsterdam is home, though. That's where you are based at the moment. You grew up in a musical home, right? Your dad was a clarinetist?
Yeah.
And you think you took from him?
Well, actually, deciding for, when I hear conversations of other people about would you like to study music, for me wasn't an option. For me, the option was which instrument. It was for sure I was going to be into music, and my brother is also a musician. My father was a professional musician, and everything around, you know, in daily life, everything had to do with music. Listening to music, getting my dad being late after rehearsals at home, or he was teaching also at home. So music was part of our lives, so it was no option. I never had to ask myself, what do I want to do in life? It was obvious.
What was less obvious was which instrument. How did you decide on that?
Well, I also had I don't know why now, but as a kid, I had a strong connection with percussion. And I also studied piano later, but I was a horrible pianist. but with percussion, I found my way. I was quite good, I thought. And then, yeah, I don't know why I thought of percussion. Now, it feels like a different life. Like you know you have done it, but it's not really anymore part of my consciousness. So I'm not, but thanks to having played percussion and being part of an orchestra, I have learned so very much. So yeah, I'm very thankful I had this project, but well, that's past indeed.
Will we ever see you conduct a Toronto Symphony Orchestra concert and play in the percussion section at the same time?
I will ask for permission to the principal percussionist of the orchestra.
Well,
Might be.
Is that a possible?
That's possible. You never know.
Look,
but I have to check with the principal percussionist of the orchestra.
I can tell you, on behalf of all I subscribe to the TSO. On behalf of all subscribers, I would love to see that someday. Just putting you on notice. Most conductors I know, they were pianists, they were violinists. I don't know of any others that were percussionists originally. Is this unique?
You know, I don't think so. I mean, there are a couple of famous conductors who play percussion. Ricardo Chailly, Paavo Järvi, and some others. But like conductor Daniel Barenboim, conductor, pianist, you know, a wonderful artist, used to say, indeed, in the past, getting to conducting was mainly pianists or maybe a violinist, but actually that's not anymore the way, you know, now there are so many different trajects and paths which can bring you to conducting. So I understand that's the general thought, but probably not anymore. I mean, some people come from an opera house or from being a repetitor or playing in an orchestra. And I also know, you know, it's like Esa-Pekka Salonen, famous composer, conductor who played French horn also. So anyway, that's probably there are now many, it's more obvious than ever, there are many ways to get to conducting.
Was there a eureka moment for you, an aha moment, where you thought, I'm not going to be a percussionist going forward, I am going to be the maestro, I'm going to be a conductor, I'm going to be in charge?
Yeah, I was assistant conductor of two great conductors and human beings, Claudio Abbado and Maris Jansons. And I got to work with them in the same year, and they both were very supportive of what I did. And the way they talked to me and they looked at me and they talked about my future, I realized that they believed in me probably more than I did. You know, I needed someone to believe in me the way they did. And they talked about me and about conducting like, this is what you have to do. This is it. And I realized when they talked to me in such a way, I thought, yeah, I remember at a certain point, I just felt different. I can't do exactly anymore what I used to do. I'm a different person. Something has changed inside, and I want to go further. That's it.
After Peter Oundjian left, he was the previous Gustavo, the orchestra obviously searched far and wide for his replacement and landed on Gustavo, who had conducted with the TSO in the past. This was not your first time with the TSO. Can you tell us, from a management point of view, from a need to sell this orchestra to the world point of view,
Yes.
why is he the right guy for this job right now?
No pressure, right? I mean, it all has to start on stage, right? You know, we're dealing in an area where the difference between the Toronto Symphony Orchestra and the next best orchestra, we could say, is maybe infinitesimal, right? But ultimately, the quality of what happens on stage is of utmost importance, because I feel very strongly that an audience comes in and they know when they're in the presence of something of quality. And so for Gustavo and the orchestra, it's the quality of the music making, it's the connection, the chemistry, the passion that they have with each other, which gets translated into the audience. It's the intellect, it's the curiosity. You know, how do we think about new music? How do we reach out and bring new voices into the concert hall? That's something that Gustavo and the orchestra are working very hard on. You know, it's all of these things, and it's also a personality. As a face of the orchestra, have you hired a conductor who represents the orchestra in every way, in the way that you would want to see yourselves? And I think, you know, for your performance review, I think you're doing very well.
You actually have to do that, don't you?
No, I don't.
You don't have to performance review him?
No, I don't.
Technically, you're the boss, aren't you?
Actually, we are colleagues because the board hires the two of us.
Oh, okay.
And actually, I think that's a really wonderful, arrangement because, you know, the art and the business have to work together, but if either one of them becomes dominant and the other is subordinate, I think that it sends an orchestra in the wrong direction. But with this structure, we have to work together, we have to compromise, and we equally have skin in the game for success. I think that makes good sense.
Let me ask you the same question. You could have gone, well, anywhere. I mean, you could have decided to be the maestro with any number of different symphony orchestras. Why the TSO?
I always have to think of the first rehearsal. Not only the first rehearsal I had with the orchestra, the first session. I mean, it was 10 o'clock in the morning at 11:15. I was in the break and I called a couple of people and I said, this is really great. This is really great. This orchestra, I really like them a lot. They play with culture, with refinement. They are curious, they are open-minded. You see in their eyes and in their playing, they want to share. They are generous, but they want to get from you. And I felt in heaven, in a way. I really felt identified with their attitude. I mean, one might think that a conductor, and I want to inspire the people who are around me and in front of me, but they were inspiring me too. I mean, I was not telling them. I was, I was just working on the music, but it was an incredible feeling of realizing this is wonderful, it's beautiful, there is potential for development, and we are just finding each other, and it felt like being in the right place in the right moment. And this happens very few times in life. I mean, you just have to see about how many positions conductors had in their lives, and maybe, depends on the conductor, but maybe we are talking about 2, 3, 4 times that you are music director of an orchestra. Mm-hmm. So I felt immediately identified with their playing and with their attitude, and I love the city, and it was immediate. And I just felt the right, it's a family, it's the right partners, the right, and I don't make any sounds, I need to connect with people who actually make sounds. They need to understand through my gestures, through my appearance, passion, verbal indications, with my attitude. They need to interpret all this and to translate it into playing. And then the result of all the individual forces coming together and having any concrete direction, whether you might like it more or less, but there is a clear definition of this is what we are presenting. And in that sense, you need the right partners next to you. Otherwise, it's impossible. There was a teacher of mine used to say, sometimes music is or very easy or impossible. and I felt this was just easy because we communicate easily. And it happened already the first rehearsal that I felt a connection. Can you imagine now already after having done so many different parts of the repertoire? I think even before I'm on stage, I think they already know me, and therefore they prepare certain things in a certain way, and I think they know what to expect, but yet that puts also pressure on me because I also want to be a better conductor, be a better musician, and to take them even further, and to take us further, which is in the end, what we are supposed to do. So it's a wonderful place where to be. I have just the right colleagues.
I want to show the folks what you do. Shall we? Sheldon, Mr. Director, let's roll it. Oh my gosh. I mean, you look like you're just having a scream up there. You look like you're having so much fun. I know you're working, but is it as joyous as it looks?
Yeah, in my life, work does not really exist. You know, it's my passion, my religion, my way of living. I just love it. It gives me so many things: music, music making, people, talented people. It gives me so very much.
It shows.
Yeah.
Okay, you said a moment ago about compromises, and I want to just sort of explore that a little bit here, because you're the guy who's ultimately responsible for putting bums in seats.
Yes.
And symphony orchestra audiences tend to be on the older as opposed to younger side. They tend to be, I'm not saying there's no young people who go, there's obviously young people who go. But they are also people who maybe fear COVID more than younger people do and are nervous about being in enclosed settings with large numbers of people. So, I'm guessing you want to do Beethoven and Mozart all the time, and he's probably trying to get some new and different voices in there.
I think you might be wrong.
Okay, well, this is what I want to explore, because compromise, right? You guys have to compromise on what you're going to be. How does it all work out?
Balance, maybe?
Balance.
Balance more than compromise.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I also think that the assumption that after everything we have been through, that people want to come back into a concert hall just to hear the stuff that they already know, I don't find that to be true. I think that the opportunity right now is that we can offer something that feels vital, that feels new, that feels, frankly, worth getting out of your sweatpants and off of your sofa and coming to the hall to experience. So in that way, I think we're actually quite aligned that that what's most important is finding the balance of comfort food and adventure and exploration. I think that's what will get people, what is getting people back.
And sometimes, especially in the very beginning, I was amazed by the architecture in Toronto. You know, all buildings, new buildings, high ones, glass, bricks. And then I thought, but then I realized also that everyone here can tell a story, also background, cultures, multicultural, mixing, and new things happen. And that's, again, the result of the collective, you know. And I think we also, in our programming, we not only want to reflect Toronto, but I find it's a moment of history where not compromising, but integrating, getting backgrounds together, people together, different eras, different experiences, contrasts, relationships. I think that's the right thing to do now in Toronto. And actually, very often it happened to me that I got some friends or guests to concerts and I was selling the concert to them, you know, there is this wonderful singer or that wonderful piece by Debussy, La Mer, or whatever, or Daphne Chloe, and they came for it. And then we also we played a new composition, a premiere, new music, and actually at the end of the concert, you know what I love the most? That one piece. Mm-hmm. So one might call it challenging the audience, I don't know, challenging, but maybe introducing, inviting, and I think very often the reactions are also for us quite surprising, because it's not at all sometimes the ones who have, you know, prejudgments or are ourselves and not kids or not young people or not the people who just go to the audience.
And there's something very interesting, I think, that happens when you have a new piece, which is whether you are a seasoned symphony goer or this is your first time in the concert hall, you're on an even playing field. And that there's something about that experience, I think, that includes a lot more people than I've heard Beethoven 5 50 times, and this is the way it goes, or that's not the way it goes. And so I think this moment requires balance and this open-hearted spirit of welcoming people in and making them feel included when they're there.
There is a reason, though, that Beethoven 5 or Beethoven 9 has been played for 200 years.
Of course,
because it's unbelievably magnificent.
Absolutely.
And I wonder, is it a tough, you know, as I say, I go, is it a tough sell to, this is the wrong word, but sort of sneak in those Canadian composers or those composers who are 35 years old and are brand new and trying it now? Is that a tough sell with your audiences?
My experience here has been that the audience is incredibly open
Curious.
They're very curious, and they're excited about music that comes from our time, and more importantly, from our space. We have a commissioning project for the centennial season, which we're in, 100 years, of these short commissions from composers around Toronto. And so they really reflect the city. They're from all kinds of backgrounds, genders, ages, whatnot. You know, one was on stage a couple of months ago with green hair, and they're writing beautiful music that reflects this time and this place. And I do think there is something about seeing that composition, classical composition, is not only people from Vienna from 200 years ago, but there are people who go to your coffee shop as well, right? They're your neighbors. Yeah. That this art is not, it's not a museum piece, it's living and it's breathing and it's being created right around us.
In our last minute, Gustavo, 100th anniversary this year, you're going to have a panic this year, aren't you? You're going to have, I mean, you got a big celebration ahead of you, right? Lots to roll out.
We are celebrating every day. We are always finding reasons to celebrate. There are new compositions and pieces we have never done together, and new combinations. And then we have in a few days the Messiah, which is a tradition here, and I never conducted before. Definitely in such a, not practically the complete piece.
Tour
and touring, and we go to Carnegie Hall together, and we have a first tour together, Ottawa, Chicago, on Valentine's Day. We had a gala with an old friend of the orchestra, Yo-Yo Ma, cellist Yo-Yo Ma, playing with us. It was extremely inspiring. I also got to know Jeremy Dutcher, a singer. So many, so many elements and so many artists and compositions. So lot to celebrate, and it's wonderful to be here with the orchestra.
Well, happy anniversary, happy 100th anniversary to the Toronto Symphony. You got the right guy on the podium to celebrate. I want to thank you both for coming in today, and keep on keeping on, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gustavo, Jimeno, Mark Williams, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Great pleasure.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.